Good morning, Guyana. Good morning. Good morning. I've missed you. Welcome down to another episode of Fun, Fit, and Healthy. As always, I'm Coel, your resident trainer, and today we'll just be discussing some questions that I've been fielding since we started the show. This is going to be a nice short program. I'm not going to be too long-winded today. We're just going to be talking about, well, again, there's recurring questions that I've been getting, and I've selected a few of them that seem to be pressing for a lot of the viewers. All right. I was out last week on the show. I must apologize for that. I had some personal matters tending to. Okay, so I can actually share that with you. I have a person that I've been helping out recently, and he suffers. He's more or less he's suffering from a return of cancer. He's an older gentleman too, and he's 83. But the reason I'm bringing him up and how he's able to deal with the returning his cancer is that prior he had a very active lifestyle. At 83, he would walk every day. He would exercise. He made exercise a part of his daily regimen, and in my belief system, I think that because he was such an active person, he was so conscientious about his fitness and conscientious about making sure that he's doing things every day. At 83, cancer is not really ravaging him as it typically does, and we were able to create a plan for him, and he's doing well. He's doing fine. Again, 83, you're a grown person. I mean. It's amazing to see, and again, I think that can be attributed, and the way his body's responding could be attributed to the fact that he was a very active and physical person prior to us finding out that stuff is going on with him. But shout out to him. He's a real trooper, Mr. Semple. Really, really great guy. Good. So some questions that I've been getting a lot in my inbox. One said question that keeps recurring is, how can I start my fitness journey? If you guys have been watching the episodes before, I'm gonna address this question. The first part of the process when you're trying to start your fitness journey is getting your mind right. Right. First and foremost, you must be thinking about you must have the right frame of mind, and that kind of shift that you want to be disciplined in your approach, right? Your mind is the governor of the body. So first and foremost, focus on correcting certain misconceptions you have about yourself, and start there. So it starts in the mind first, right? Secondly is you must have a plan, and that plan should first and foremost in your plan is your nutrition. And we've talked about this on the show before. In order to create an effective plan, you have to know first and foremost what your body needs. When I say what your body needs in terms of your caloric needs, you must be aware of how much your body or what your body requires to function. All right. The reason why most of us put on weight is because we are consuming more calories than we need. All right. So in addition to getting your mind right, you need to focus on understanding what your caloric needs. And we had a website we had posted, calculator.net. Where you can go on that website and you input your information, age, level of physical activity, height, current weight, putting all those information, all those metrics inside the program, and it calculates for you your caloric needs. So that's a good way to start. Get your mind right, and then first find out what are the needs for your intake, your caloric needs, right? Exercise in itself is, most persons would attribute about 20% of of the plan, or 20% of what's going to give you the results is the exercise portion. The other 80% comprises your diet and your lifestyle, right? So, coupled with the exercise, what's most important is your physical output. Is your caloric intake and how you structure your eating, right? Eating is so important. We eat to live. The food provides us with energy, so we eat to live, and eating correctly is what's going to make a big difference. Just a bit of a segue. When I was preparing for today, a client of mine sent me a video, and the video was talking about simple sugars and how our body responds to simple sugars. And most of the processed foods that we have in Guyana are heavy laden with highly refined ingredients, and these things are definitely contributing to a spike in non-communicable diseases like diabetes and these different kind of things. So we must be aware of our intake, what we need to intake and have a more structured approach to our diets. And again, when we use the word diet, we don't want to get a wrong kind of connotation, right? So it's that. So my advice: first, get your mind right. When you want to start this journey, get your mind right, because you have to have the discipline to take you through, and then you must secondly understand what your needs are. All right, what your caloric needs are, and then you start utilize our show. We have our show there. You can get the exercise from the show, and you start there and you keep moving. You understand? There's no such thing as the perfect body. It's a continuous process. Your focus should always be on feeling good, and then secondly, you will look good. All right. So hope that answers that question adequately from Brittany. Mark, yes, he had asked. Again, these are questions I've been fielding in my own personal inbox. Mark was asking. Mark is saying, I don't eat a lot, but I keep putting on weight, right? Well, for that, there are several reasons that can contribute to you putting on weight that you're not necessarily eating a lot. One of the primary reasons that will be is maybe, Mark, you have a hormone issue that you're unaware of. Typically, persons, their tests that can be done, but there's a thing in particular called hypothyroidism that kind of slows down a person's metabolism at a different rate than the other, and it causes your body to retain a lot of weight. One factor could also be that because you're starving your body of nutrition, what it is doing when you do eat is typically pulling more calories from the food when you actually eat. This typically happens with persons that are overweight, because when you eat, right, your body does not necessarily absorb all the calories from the food that you eat. It absorbs typically what it needs, and then you poop out the rest. But if you're starving your body, and your body's always in starvation mode, when you actually do give it some kind of nutrition, it typically pulls a lot more from the food, and then you're passing out less of it, right? So that could also be a reason. So one, Mark, to answer your question, one reason could be that you are maybe having some kind of hormonal issues that you're unaware of, for which you can have some tests done for that. Or you can possibly your body's just absorbing more calories because you're keeping your body in a starvation mode throughout the day, right? Again, there's no hard and fast rule about this, but there have been studies that show intermittent fasting. We talked about intermittent fasting, where you starve your body, but that has to be on a structured timeline. If you're going to do intermittent fasting, you're not just going to starve yourself every single day. But again, there is evidence that supports that intermittent fasting is a very, very effective way of controlling one's body weight, right? But again, with intermittent fasting, again, you need to have a program or a structured plan around it, and also you need to structure the intake after you've finished your fasting period. So Not eating a lot does not necessarily correlate to weight loss. As you might think you're starving yourself. You should not be doing that. You should have a structured and planned meal intake. It's important that we understand that. Your intake is very, very important. I guess again is the biggest aspect of your fitness pursuit. All right. So, Mark, I hope that answers your question. All right. Now I have can't pronounce this name too well. I'm not gonna try to butcher this person's name. Anyways, the question is, this is a woman. If I lift weights, I'm scared of getting big and bulky. All right, and this is something a lot of women typically believe that if they lift weights, they start to lift weights, their bodies is going to get big and bulky and get big shoulders and big arms. This is categorically false, for women in particular, right? Personally, I always recommend that women do less. Not do less. I'm not trying to knock the aerobics classes, but if you do aerobics classes, you should never shy away from lifting weights. And here's why. When you lift weights, you develop more muscle, right? The more muscle you develop, the more calories you need, the more fat you burn, right? Muscle is a very, very effective fat burning tool, right? So developing muscles, forcing your body to respond to the weight training that you've been doing, will bear a lot of fruit for you women. The thing about the female body requires fat more than the male body. It's just because of your hormonal functions. But there's this misconception that you can convert, if you're big, you can convert the fat to muscle. Well, you can't convert fat to muscle. Muscle is muscle, fat is fat. So in order to actually grow the muscles, your body first has to effectively start losing fat or adipose tissue, right? Adipose tissue accumulates in the body. It doesn't grow per se. And you get this level of adiposity from, again, consuming more calories than your lifestyle necessitates, and you end up putting on weight, right? So that is but weights. So women, I'm speaking to you directly. If you believe that if you lift weights, you're going to get big and bulky, that's not necessarily true. Not necessarily. That's categorically false. Developing muscle is a very good thing, to have in your fitness regimen. Women in particular, I'm encouraging you, lift weights, women. Don't be afraid of weights. Weights will not hurt you. Well, in theory, muscles up, but you're going to feel some pain. But don't be afraid of weights. Weights are very, 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 very effective in helping you to manage your weight. I have a client, again, I call her my favorite client. She is a bit bigger, and the program I put her on is a strong mixture of cardio and weights. She's very physically strong, very, very physically strong. So in order to force her body to, and again, you don't want to get too much a heavy weight at the same time, but you can use moderate weight, and you develop the body. Now you can, if you want to look like that, and you can train to look like that, but it will require you to eat a particular way and all these different kind of things. Then lifting weights would produce a bulkier, more sizable body, more size body. But it's not. Most women will not train for that purpose. You see that happens. It does happen with powerlifting women, that they tend to get big and bulky, because when you're powerlifting, you need your caloric needs are more. So because you're lifting heavier weights, you just focus on the strength portion. And food gives us energy. So but if you're just a regular person going to the gym that's not competitive, as a woman, that is, you should not be afraid of lifting weights. Lifting weights are very, very cool. You look good doing it too. At the gym, we have a lot of women, and again, You come to my gym, you will lift weights. Weights are wonderful, and you see the benefit of it. So don't be afraid. Again, I don't want to butcher your name. Well, don't be afraid to lift weights as a woman. Lift weights, women. Lift those weights, right? The second question, the fourth question we're going to address today. Again, we're going to keep today's program very short and not too long-winded. Because this person says, I want to eat right, but my partner doesn't make it easy on me. This part is a very, very touchy question. And this happens a lot where you have one person who wants to start the fitness journey and their partner doesn't necessarily facilitate the that process. So because they're not on board fully, and this is hard to do for a lot of couples to get each other motivated. Again, I'm no marriage counselor, but what I would recommend in this particular situation is you start, right? You start it. Have a conversation with your partner. Have a conversation about where you're intending to go. And again, could be a start. Show them what you've researched. Show them the necessity for the diet shift. Show them. And this is what I'm intending to do. I'm going to do this. I would really love your support. But with your support or without your support, I need to do this. And you start. So again, you're not just going to just create a contentious situation in your relationship by trying to emotionally bully your partner. We don't promote any kind of bullying on this show. You're not going to emotionally bully your partner into coming on board with your plan. But what you want to do is you want to show them your roadmap, show them your plan, and you start. Again, the other constraint that might be difficult with the financial side to it or whatever. But with what you have in front of you, show them what you intend to do. Show them what the benefits of coming on board with this plan would be, and you start. Right? You start it. You maintain it, and again, if you plant apples, you can't get oranges. Your results will be apparent over time, and that's what you want. And nothing motivates a person more than seeing results. I think what particularly might be the difficulty in such a situation is the different prepping of the meals that you would have to do and whatever the case may be. So that might be a ticklish area in terms of having to do multiple pots. That could be a problem. But I think if you are contemplating this, it would be better if your partner comes on board. It's always better if you have, two people can. One person can't move a couch, but two people can move a couch real easy, and it makes it easier. But as I would always try to say on the program, try to promote, you are a priority. You prioritize yourself, right? You're not pursuing health and fitness for anybody but yourself. And it sounds very, very selfish. It sounds very self-righteous. But you are pursuing your health for you, right? You can only give people things that you possess. So if you don't possess it for yourself, it's very difficult for you to give it to other person. Make an example. I've had clients that came to my gym and said they moved from other trainers because the trainer didn't look like a trainer. Not to brag, right? But the trainer didn't look like a trainer. And, everything that I tell my clients to do, everything that I profess, I can do myself, and I can tell them unequivocally that these things work, right? There's no question about it. These things work because I myself have done them and I see the fruits of them. And the only difference is the time it takes per person to achieve these goals. But if all of us have programs, we have planned approaches, we control our intake, we control our fitness regimen, we have a plan, we assess the plan, and we tweak the plan, and then we do all these things around our plans, we will see the results. There's no possible way that you will not see fruit from your input once it is structured that way. You always do. So it's not something that is unattainable, or attainable for someone, unattainable for others. If we do the right things, we get the right results. You understand? And that's the way it is when it comes to health and fitness. There's no silver bullet. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the effort. It requires that focus. And you get it. You get it. Right? I can guarantee you 100%. You get those results. So if your partner is not too compliant or too willing, and there's a bunch of reluctance in the mix, excuse me, you do it for you. Start it for you. Do it for you. And hopefully it rubs off when they begin to see the fruits of your labor. You might run into a problem there when you start to look. Who are you trying to look good for? I like you just, sir. But again, you're trying to look good for you. You ain't trying to create. You're trying to live. You're trying to be around, especially if you have a family, if you have kids. You're trying to be around for as long as possible. I was reading an article recently, because again, cancer has come close to me, so I'm doing a lot of reading and research. And what we found again, these studies are based on North American case studies. There has been a significant increase in cases of cancer in the Americas. There has been an increase in the cases of Americas. Fewer people are dying from it because science exists now to help keep you alive and treatment. So what's happening is that persons are getting cancer at a much higher rate. The person is being cured, but the detection of these cancers has become more efficient. So there's more of it, but it's being detected sooner, so there's treatment plans that can be implemented sooner and, mitigate death. So people are living longer because of the advancements in science and medicine. But again, people are getting more cancer because, or we would suggest that people are getting more cancer. And I think primarily because of our intake. This dependence on high fructose corn syrup, sucralose, and these different kinds of artificial sweeteners that are present in a lot of the foods that we consume lately. So, again, I don't want to call this person's name, but yes. So if you're having difficulty with your partner, you just do it for you, and hopefully that pans out and it reaches to your partner and they come on board eventually. All right. So I hope that helps. Next on we have. This will be the final question I'm going to take because again I'm not trying to be with you too long today. On this wet Thursday morning. So the next question is. I chose this question because I have a young child, also 11-year-old. What age is a good age to get my child/children started in the gym? Now, again, health and fitness is not there's always evidence to support one thing or the other. Now, with children, there is evidence that supports that children lifting weights can stunt growth and these different kind of things because it's going to force them force their body into to respond and attempt to produce hormones too early. But start your children as early as possible, but they don't have to lift weights. calisthenic training, which is body weighted training. And this is what the program I'm going to start my son on, because he's 11. He's a high schooler now. I'm very proud of him. Calisthenic training, body weighted training, that is a good introduction to exercise for your children. There's several gyms. I know at one point Space Gym had a kiddie program. There are lots of trainers out there. Again, you reach out. Yeah. So to answer the question, children can start fitness at any age once the program that they're starting is not weighted. You don't want to put children to lift weights very early. You shouldn't. It's ill-advised. What you do is you get them active, running. You get them, doing push-ups. You can get them to do squats, body-weighted squats, right? Dips and these different kind of exercises that you can give to children. So children can work out at any age. You want to introduce health and fitness to them early, and get them a program. Case in point, I have a friend. His son exhibited great athletic ability at a very, very young age, and he was always involved in sport from a very young age. And now he loves it. He's passionate about it, and he's happy to go to camp and train and go to these fitness groups and train and be a part and be active because he started early. So it's likely that because he started in fitness early, he's going to continue that throughout his life, and he's going to have friends that are going to be similar, and they're going to promote that kind of well-being early. And that's because he was introduced to him at a very young age. So children, we ought to encourage them to get more active, especially nowadays. I have several friends that have difficulties with getting their children to come off the tablet and go play, which is quite dissimilar from when I was younger, where it was difficult to get us to come inside. So there has been a paradigm shift in terms of how children create their fun. For us, again, this is not a knock on generations, but for us, we loved to go outside and play. Your parents had to, call you inside after dark. Your parents had to come and call you. Nowadays, the kids don't want to go outside because of obviously technology. Their fun happens more inside their heads as opposed to physical. Which, again, there are pros and cons to both things. There have been studies that have shown that children that do gaming have better problem-solving abilities and these different kind of things. But on the same side, children who play and children who create their own fun are a bit more imaginative. Their brains are stimulated differently, and they develop. Again, there are studies also that talks about the importance of physical activity for young boys and their stimulation and brain development. So there's benefits to having your children start with health and fitness. Benefits to that. So get them started early. You don't have to do any kind of weights. And then later on, as they get older and their hormones start to set in, then you can start experimenting with weight training. One good point about exercise or weighted exercises are good for athletes. At one point, I was privileged to train some national swimmers, and we introduced them with some weight training and core strengthening training. And this is the type of training that are effective to help them perform better at whatever sport that they're doing. So, again, you get them enthused with health and fitness by implementing some kind of fitness program with them early, whether they want to play cricket, they want to go swimming, they want to play football, whatever. Get them enthused by introducing them to some kind of regimented sport or the gym. Have them do again body weighted calisthenic exercises, and then you monitor them and keep them engaged in these things, and it helps in the overall well-being. Guyana is not necessarily there yet in terms of significant obesity rates, but there have been in the region. They've done studies. I think I read an article from I think it's United Nations. I think United Nations had a study they did. Guyana is still pretty low in terms of obesity rates relative to other countries in the region. However, we do see that we have an influx of fast food chains and entities coming into Guyana. So, it's not a far stretch to believe that in the next couple of years, if we don't focus and have programs like the ones we have now, educating persons on the necessity of health and fitness, we won't necessarily have a problem with obesity. And we have a significant number of people that become under-muscled, right? Again, that's the terminology. We be referring to persons that are overweight. You're under-muscled, right? So the goal is to get. Again, I specifically left this question for last because I think it's important that we try to get our children involved in things that are going to promote their overall well-being going into their adolescence and adulthood. There's one thing I like to always say is that if you have children, you're not raising smart children, you're not raising healthy children, you're raising smart and healthy adults. So it's important that we try to, encourage our children. One of my most favorite, I'm full of quotes, but one of my most favorite quotes is by Sir Frederick Douglass. And he says, it's better to build strong children than have to repair broken men. And that's applicable to all aspects of, the notion there is that, it's better to develop our youth, make them strong, fortify them young, because it's a lot harder to do it as they get older, if it wasn't done sooner, right? It's always better to build strong children than to repair broken men. And this is true for both mental health issues also. There is strong evidence and strong correlative value of exercise with mental health also. So exercise is not just about your physical well-being, it's also about your mental well-being. And as always, I'm going to stress this always on the show, the importance of taking care of yourself, the importance of making sure that you make yourself a priority at all times. And in making yourself a priority, you can be around longer, you can feel happier, you can let that fan out into those around you and try to create that kind of ripple effect in your own personal life. It's important that we are always focused on self-improvement, self-awareness, and then let that fan out. It is not selfish to take care of yourself properly, obviously, right? Make yourself a priority, guys. Make yourself a priority. I cannot stress that enough. You have to do it, all right? And again, you don't want to become that person that's always and judgmental, and you're looking down on others who are not necessarily on your fitness pursuit. You want to encourage people, right? You don't want to do it in a way that it's demeaning to others. You don't want to do that. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you are encouraging people to get on board with approaching their under-muscled states. In the world or society we're entering currently, there is a lot of people very touchy about a lot of things, and it's easy to offend people in the current status quo that we see. But it should not be reviewed as an offense to talk to somebody about the necessity for them to get healthy, the necessity for them to take care of themselves, right? And that, in my opinion, is a no-brainer when it comes to helping others, when it comes to assisting our fellow Guyanese, right? A lot of us are struggling, and you want to talk to people in the industry that are going to encourage you to do better and not make you feel worse about yourself and your current state, right? These things are not easy. They're not easy, but they're doable, right? A guy had contacted me, like I'm just remembering, a gentleman had contacted me earlier when we started the show, and I appreciated him reaching out and having seeing that having the confidence in us. And I can happily report, I had assisted him with getting on a meal plan. And within the first week of getting on that meal plan, he said he lost 5 pounds. So, and he stuck to it. And I haven't reached out to him in a long time to find out. But again, this was since early up in the commencement of the show. But again, these are the things that I can tell you that if you do them, they work. If you do them, they work. You understand? So, to recap, what we talked about today. One first question we addressed was starting a fitness. How can you start a fitness journey? First, get your mind right, and then create your plan and know definitively what your caloric intake needs to be, and you move from that point, right? And then you tweak going forward. Ladies, you should not ever be afraid of lifting weights. Weights are very good things. So you should have a very good toolkit in your fitness toolbox. Lift weights and be merry. You can see the benefit in your body. You can see the changes in your body. All right. Do not just rely on aerobic training. All right. Again, with the eating too little and then still putting on weight, that could be indicative of some kind of hormonal issue you may have. You can investigate that and again create a program around that. Also, you could be that you're just starving yourself and your body's just holding on to more calories. So to rectify that, just have a more structured intake, right? The question with the partner, again, it's difficult a lot of the times getting your partner on board, but you start, and see if that fans out. At the end of the day, you are better for it. You're healthier for it. And you might be the strong one that's going to help take care of them when they start to ail. And again, you could show them the roadmap. Show them what you intend to do. Communicate. Don't just pull to yourself and believe that what you think is right. You have to communicate. Communicate to let them see. Communicate with your partner. Show them your plan. Implement your plan and move. Right? Lastly, yes, children can work out, children can exercise, children can start as young as possible, and they can get into health and fitness and start something and keep it moving, right? So that covers up most of the questions that I've been seeing, I hope those questions were adequately answered, and I'm guessing those of you who identify with the same questions can draw some kind of assistance from what we discussed today. So again, don't want to keep it too late, and again, as always, I really, really enjoy you allowing me into your spaces to have these discussions, and we'll be continuing these discussions and advancing health and fitness related dialogue in Guyana. It's something that is very, 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 very important, and we're doing our part here at TBN to facilitate that and make sure that we're creating a proper brand around health and fitness. So as always, this is your host. I'm your host, Coel, resident trainer here at Fun, Fit, and Healthy, and as always, it's a pleasure being with you. Tomorrow we'll have our lower body blast. We're not going to be doing high intervals tomorrow, so stay tuned and look forward to that. And we have some really nice routines planned for tomorrow. You're going to enjoy those. All right, so do take care and stay tuned for our next program on TBN. And once again, thank you for being with us, and have a wonderful rest of the day and week.